What is your most shameful, embarrassing perv-creeper thing you have ever done? A few years ago I was asked to house sit for some family friends. They had a horse show competition and needed someone to look after the plants and dogs for a few days. They live on a small farm, so they had several spare bedrooms for employees to stay at. Apart from having a few chickens and such, their main business was with horses. They had a few riders, all girls, who lived there for a few months at a time. Anyway, I found one of the girls to be very attractive. I never talked to her, and only saw her for like 5 seconds before she left. I only knew her name, Sue. I had the great idea of going into her room, going through her underwear and wearing it. I rubbed my face in it, jerked off while wearing it, and even got some water balloons for fake tea and bra. On my last day I was feeling extra naughty and decided to go outside to water the plants in her especially steamy panties and a bra with the biggest water balloons I could fit. Since it was pretty much in the woods, nobody would have seen me, so I'm watering plants, playing with my fake tea and jerking off when I hear something. I realize it's everyone coming back 3 hours earlier than they were supposed to. Here I am in this girl's panties with giant water balloon tea with a shiny bra, wearing flip-flops. I freak out because they'd be able to see me once they get to their parking lot area. My only chance was to run straight to the house through the back. So I ran, jumped a small fence and had one of my water tea fall out and break, making the panties wet. I get to the door, run to the stairs. My room was upstairs, only to see the owners come through the door. By the time they noticed me, I was running up the stairs and had the other water tit fall out and break on the wood stairs. I slip, pull myself up and run into my room to hide change. I managed to get the panties and bra in the laundry, but the next few hours were really freaking awkward. TLDR. House sat for some friends, ran in front of them wearing panties, flip-flops, and a bra with water balloon tea. So I'm watering plants, playing with my fake tea and jerking off. I died. I was in Europe with my family when I was 15 or 16. Since we shared a room with 2 beds and a single bathroom wherever we went, I hadn't had a decent FAP session for almost 2 weeks. At that age the urge was almost unbearable. We were in Venice for the final part of our trip when it happened. There were numerous well-endowed girls in the area, and one in particular caught my eye. She couldn't have been much older than I was, but was incredibly hot and mature for her age. The girl lived in the building across from our hotel and her bedroom window was at the same level as our bathroom window. I got hard every time I looked at her going about her day in all her glory and waited for a time when I could be in the bathroom for a while. The next morning I was taking a shower in the bathtub, which had no curtain or door. For some odd reason, the girl emerges from another room in her house completely naked. I couldn't believe my eyes. She was everything I had imagined in the days before. Was she not aware that her curtains weren't drawn? I started stroking furiously with the pent-up energy of a 2-week-long FAP drought. Suddenly, she turns and sees me beating my sklong. I try to duck out of the way of the window, but I end up releasing at the same time. Loads and loads of jizz go flying everywhere in the shower. After a few seconds, when I think it's safe to move, I peek out the window. The girl points and I immediately see why. Giant blobs of stringy jizz hung themselves delicately from the window. Shocked and embarrassed, I wiped the window down with my towel. She was laughing and I had nowhere to hide. I was so distraught I didn't even notice the jizz clinging to my ankles as I walked out of the bathroom. My mom points this out to me and I declare, too loudly, that it's just soap. Let's just say I was glad the trip was over. TL. Doctor in Venice. I masturbated to this hot girl in the window while she watched me jizz everywhere. I was a teen on vacation with the family. Decided to do my own thing and check out girls around the resort. Walking up to the pool area I noticed a woman was lying face down on her pool chair and her bikini bottom was too loose and her fanny was exposed. I kept walking back and forth to build up memory for later jerking. When I felt I was good to go I went to turn and go back to my room, but then I saw my dad walk over to the woman and sit down next to her. It was my mom. Freud would be proud. When I was about 11 my parents switched over to Dish Network, and my sister and I both had older but competent TVs, so they got just boxes for our rooms, and didn't think to set parental controls on it. Didn't mean much for a couple years, but when I was 13 I realized the potential this had. I watched professional wrestling and would tape it, since the shows were like 3 hours long each. So I had an abundance of VHS tapes. I then started looking specifically for movies on the movie channels with nudity and would watch the movies to see what it was, and if I approved, I then set my VCR to record the movies on their next air date. I ended up acquiring a second VCR and I then made a compilation of my favorite hot scenes from those movies. I think the most notable inclusions were Angelina Jolie in Original Sin and all the nudity in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. When I realized that we had Cinemax, I then set to taping full softcore pornos on their own tapes and ended up with a box of tapes of just pee. But that wasn't enough. One day I took my mom's Kodak digital camera, back when digitals were still new, and paused on my favorite scenes and took screenshots, uploaded them to the family computer while everyone was gone, printed them all off and erased the memory card. I found a bunch of clear sheet protectors and put all the photos in them so I wouldn't bend or rip them and stashed them in a binder. One day I was jerking it to one and I didn't move out of the way in time and accidentally finished all over the sheet protector. For some reason I didn't clean it, I just stashed it away. Over the next year or so I would take out the images I wanted to fap to and put them in this sheet protector and then end up finishing on it. I think I really just wanted to challenge myself to see what would happen if I just let it build up. One day I came home from school to a very distant mother. One of the photos from a fresh round I had printed had gotten stuck in the printer's memory and it had printed it out again the next time she turned it on. She had found the tapes and had wiped them all to record the blue screen that the VCR had on standby. The binder was in her possession. The sheet protectors were empty and back on a stack in her craft room. I checked the binder for the CM filled sheet protector in the spot I had hidden it and it wasn't there. My mom had found it and had either cleaned it and reused it or thrown it away. Knowing my mom, she probably set it on fire and threw it out and then said a prayer for me. I was a strange kid when I was 11-12, and I'm glad I'm out of the stage now that I was into back then. Here's my short story. Our main floor bathroom was being remodeled, along with the entire upstairs area. For a span of 3 or 4 months, there was a 7x7 hole on the ceiling of the bathroom where the air duct was to be placed. At night, all you were able to see through that hole from the bathroom was pitch dark, but from upstairs, you could see all in the bathroom. So late at night, when my older sister would go in to use the bath or shower, I'd sneak upstairs to watch her. The sight of her athletic naked body, excitement, disgust, fear of getting caught, and feeling of pure adrenaline made for an insane orgasm, especially when she would occasionally masturbate in the tub. I kept this up until the day the bathroom was finished, and then that was the end of it. I once realized I had been following this car for a while, and started thinking about what the person in the car was like. I could see it was a young woman, with long, beautiful hair. She had cute bumper stickers, and a light blue car. After another 20 minutes of just happening to take the same turn she did, I started really wanting to know what this girl looked like. Then, she took a turn off my route, and in a split-second decision I followed her. I followed her for a few minutes before it really sunk in how wrong it was, but by this time I'd had wasted 10 minutes following someone for no reason if I turned around. So I figured I'd wait till we got to a 2-lane road to see what she looked like, then make my way back. Well, time kept passing, and I kept thinking if I turn back now I've wasted this much time. Well, if I turn back now I've wasted even more time. We never got to a 2-lane road. Back road after back road, until it would have been beyond obvious that I was following her. But I followed on. Almost a solid hour passed, and I found we were in a very remote part of an already small town, nowhere near my home. I realized that the last turn I had followed her down was her driveway. I hadn't even realized. It was a long curvy drive. I didn't know what to do, so I just froze and parked. I thought maybe she wouldn't notice me. She'd get out of her car, go into her house, and not see me. I could just back out, but she didn't. She got out and stared right at my car. Now, first of all, she was actually very pretty. Not drop dead gorgeous, but definitely beautiful. She just stared at my car, waiting for me to get out, or roll down my window, or explain something. So I got out and made up the best bulls I could. I'm not from around the area, and I got really lost. I figured if I followed someone they'd hit a main road eventually. I realize how creepy this must look. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to turn into your driveway. She kind of laughed it off and directed me back to the nearest main road. Before I left I made some jokes about her bumper stickers, and we laughed a little. I left and got home using my GPS. Even weirder is that I knew her first name and town she lived in, so I knew what school she was likely to go to. I searched through Facebook for people with her first name that went to the school in town until I found her. She accepted, but we've absolutely never talked, though I do still occasionally like her statuses. TLDR. Followed a girl home, an hour out of my way to see what she looked like. Still Facebook friends, and she doesn't know that I followed her. I cringed so hard reading this. I used to live in an old apartment building that had paper-thin walls. I had some really hot neighbors, and I always thought they were just loud. My room was right next to their bathroom and there was an access panel of some sort in my closet between the rooms. One of them used to sing in the shower and had a beautiful voice. The other used to masturbate and make little moaning noises. Every morning I would fap to the sound of their quirky little bathroom rituals. I regret the day that I looked behind the access panel and found plumbing, bare studs, and an electrical outlet that was conveniently cracked and provided a perfect view of the room, which was fantastic. Every young guy's dream. After living there for a while I got to know them pretty well, and we would drink beers and make food sometimes. One day I was over for dinner and they asked me who I fapped to more. Wah, they knew I watched them but wanted to know who finished me more. My face has never been so hot in my life. I still watched them. Every once in a while I would catch a little smirk. The saddest day of my life was when they moved out of that apartment and Steve moved in. When I was in 5th grade, I had a huge crush on the popular girl in school. One day I found out where she lived and sent her flowers using a telephone service and a money order I had made with saved up money. This girl didn't know I even existed, but I sent her flowers. Signed, "Happy birthday, your secret admirer." The day the flowers were supposed to arrive was her birthday. I found her house and climbed a tree in a vacant lot across the street. I was pretty high up in the tree and looked through my binoculars into her bedroom window. I watched all day. I saw every woman walking her dog, every move in front of every window of the house. Finally, it got late at night and she went to her room to change. She took off her clothes and changed into her pajamas. I imagined her playing with the flowers and thinking about me. How foolish was I to think she would know who sent them or even think it was me. As I tried to exit the tree, I slipped and fell about 20 feet into a thick bush of thorns. I went to school the next day and had 5 dozen cuts on my arm and face. TLDR. Fell out of a tree. When I was 16, I had been fapping for years to found stolen pee, which was great, but I wanted to see live boobs, not images or video. A friend and I tried sneaking into some strip clubs, but got denied. Then one day, my mom's younger friend from church was spending the night, and she was sinfully hot. Now I had discovered that a vent for the guest bathroom opened into the hallway. Also you could open the vents from outside the bathroom as well. So my mom and her stayed up late talking and then decided to go to bed. I was in the other room playing on my N64 and saw that she went into the bathroom and started taking a shower. Now my pervy brain got the idea that if I opened the vents and peeked inside, the holy grail could be mine. Crept down the hall and opened the vent up before she was done and shut off all the lights. Then the curtain opened and oh Lord have mercy, were her breasts amazing. I stayed as long as I could without someone noticing me, then booked it to my room for a home run fap. Praise the Lord for boobs. Ramen. My parents have these family friends and they have a daughter who is about 4 or 5 years younger than me. Every year or so they come visit us and they stay in my room while I sleep in the living room. My parents took them and their daughter out for some shopping, so I was left home alone. I did what I always do and went on Reddit in my room. After realizing I was pretty bored, I decided to masturbate. The problem was that their clothes were all over my room, so I didn't have much space, so I tried to move their clothes off my desk so I didn't accidentally nut all over them. While I was cleaning, I noticed the girl's panties. She's around 16 at this time, and I decided, frick it, I'm going to have some fun. I put it on and proceeded to fap in them. I ended up nutting in them, and as the last bit of ejaculate came out, I realized that she's probably going to notice a load on her panties. I wiped it off as best as I could with someone's socks, Might have been her dad's, who knows, and put everything back the way it was. Nobody ever said anything, so I'm assuming I got away with it, but it was a really strange event. When I was in the early stages of puberty, I had a very hot neighbor friend who was the same age as me. She was one of those girls who was a total tomboy, and when puberty hit her she became freaking gorgeous. So there I am, raging hormones and hanging out with her. Would have to pee, go into the upstairs bathroom, and lo and behold, some of her dirty panties. So I jacked off, smelling them and tasting them where her pee would be. Then blow my load into them, wadded them up and put them back on the floor. I did this several more times throughout the years, and with several other girls that I went to junior high and high school with. Always wondered if she or the girl's mom found them and wondered why they were all crunchy. I am leaving a restaurant fighting with my two 12-year-old cousins about who has to sit in the middle on the car ride back. I am a 21 female, by the way. I tell my male 12-year-old cousin that he has the smallest behind, so he has two. He says, "No, I don't." I then reply with, "Why don't you pull your pants down and prove it? I know yours is smaller than mine." Right as I said the last part, an older couple looks at me with the most disgusted look I have ever seen. Needless to say, I ended up in the middle seat. Back when I was 13, when I first discovered the wonders of masturbation, I was in the process of having a wank while flipping through the TV trying to find something good to get it off to. Being young and stupid, I didn't have a lock on my door, and I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to do it during the day. Well, just about that time I reached climax. The channel happened to stop on Cartoon Network, which was playing Bugs Bunny. Right then my dad bursts in. My eyes met his, then his eyes met my dong in my hand, and then to the image of Bugs Bunny gnawing away at a carrot, and finally to watching my blow my prepubescent load all over myself. He calmly stated, "When you're done whacking your carrot, dinner's ready, wash your hands." I couldn't look at him for weeks after that incident. When I was in elementary school, I was friends with a girl who lived a few houses down from me with her mother and grandfather. We would sometimes crawl up into this small attic space on the little house fort her grandfather had built for her in the backyard. There she would insert the handles of plastic dinnerware up her butt, and, at her insistence, I would as well. I remember being ashamed and embarrassed about it, but enjoying it. Looking back years later, I feel really spooked by it all. I mean, how would a little girl barely in elementary school know about stuff like that? It doesn't help that I got a creepy feeling from her grandfather. Another embarrassing thing. I was a pretty typical frisky teenager and used to like to masturbate in my bed before falling asleep. Once I had been going at it for a long time and got thirsty. Rather than wake everyone up, I took a flashlight with me to the kitchen. However, I am still really frisky, so I pause in the hallway and rub myself with the flashlight. After a moment I hear a noise and look up to see my dad sleeping on the couch a few feet away. Or at least I hope he was sleeping and not faking it. I also used to masturbate with hot dogs, then wash them off and stick them back in the fridge. I would make sure I was the one who ate the used ones, except one time my mom had one instead. I stopped using hot dogs after that. There are a million other embarrassing and shameful things, but I'm not going to bore anyone with them. It was hard enough just to write out these. At my old job, I used to travel around as doing field work. Occasionally I would come into an office with really cute girls. Being the SAP that I am, I'd sometimes try and find them on FB from their name. Sometimes I could, sometimes I couldn't. Generally, I wouldn't add them. Just occasionally see if they have a BF. If they were hot enough, I'd have a little fap for Peru to them. This one time was different, though. I had to go to this place several times a week because of some problems they were having there. The receptionist was insanely gorgeous, and I really wanted to try and find the balls to eventually talk to her. Never happened, though. However, I did run into her at a bar later one night after seeing her earlier. I failed at finding my man bits to talk to her still, for fear of possibly losing my job if she complained about me hitting on her, etc. Anyways, one day when I was there, I saw she was getting ready for lunch, so I asked her if I could get some changes I made to take effect on her computer while she was at lunch. She said no problem, and took off. You can probably see where this is going, but I looked in her browsing history, found her FB, which was completely locked down, and still logged in, score, and then looked at her pics and saved some to a thumb drive. I fabbed my little heart out for about a week after, but I never ended up adding her on FB, or anything like that. But, to this day, by far the creepiest thing, most shameful thing I've ever done. TLDR. Got on a girl's computer and saved pics of her off FB. Fap for Peru. I was a frisky teenager back in the day. I don't know if I was high or not, but I might have been, cause I was a bit of a stoner as a teen. So I'm in my mother's home. No one is home. I whip out the meat and start whacking off. I'm enjoying the moment, getting into the groove so to speak. Our new little kitten comes over and eyeballs my dong as I'm pounding it. I laugh and tell the kitty you like the look of that, and then the kitten kind of playfully, with claws pulled in, bats at my shaft, and it surprised teenage me and actually sent a bit of a thrill up my spine. I hadn't had much of anyone touch it besides me. I knew it was a freaking fluffy kitten, but the reaction was still the reaction which turned me on. So I didn't scare the kitten off, and because I got a thrill I was ready to climax. So just as my tip is getting all red hot and ready to blow, the kitten decides to swipe at my dong again, but this time Kitty was ready to go in for the kill. The kitten extends sharp young claws and slashes at the head of my throbbing dong, and literally slashes a bleeding gash in the head of my CM spewing dong. I scream, pull back, and the kitten scampers off. I have a bloody dong with CM dripping down my legs. I still have the scar, and every time I see my dong head scar I remember the interaction with that cute little kitten. Long story short, don't mix masturbation and kittens. Just don't. I once jacked off and used my mom's bra to wipe up, then put it back in her bra drawer. I had fricked a stuffed gorilla before I was producing, so instead of cooming I peed all over it. I once had like 6 dudes jacking off in my room at one time. I was included. I farted in my mom's cereal and watched her eat it. I used to dig in my butthole to get the crap out whenever I was constipated. I used to film myself fapping so I could see if I looked like the dudes in the pornos. I injured my spine trying to suck my own dong as a kid. Had to go to the doctor. Told him I fell off my bed. About the 6 dudes jacking off. My brother was in 8th grade and I was in 4th. One day he had a bunch of friends over, and for some reason they all stayed in my room. Since they were all so young they were new to the wonders of fapping. They all started going at it, 2 in the closet, 2 on the bunk beds, 1 on my bed, then me in the middle of the room. I wasn't producing yet, so I was basically the one to settle the debates about who had the biggest dong. Jesus man, you're an awkward all-star. I salute you. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.